You guys remember Brittani Taylor? She used to be friends with Shane Dawson. She's like a freaking OG YouTuber, I would say. I remember watching her when I was a little bit younger, but it was mostly collabs with Shane Dawson, and I don't really remember Shane Dawson videos from that time. They were probably all about Rihanna and her like big pussy or something. I don't know. It was stuff like that they were talking about. But this is more serious. Brittani Taylor, the YouTuber who was scammed out of her life, dude, with the content warning up front. So I didn't know anything bad happened to her. I just freaking thought that she stopped making videos or stopped being friends with Shane Dawson. Couldn't blame her for either of those things. It's not for everyone, I imagine.
Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sid. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at
I would like to formally apologize for the last video making you watch that. That's my bad.
Sid_Dwyer. And in today's video, I want to talk about Brittani Louise Taylor. She's an old school YouTuber most known for making skit videos. Unfortunately now, she is most well known for something significantly darker than her easygoing videos.
Cryptocurrency? Some sort of podcast blunder? Something embarrassing? We'll see.
Common hearing about YouTubers
Just a
getting
guess.
scammed. It's usually always the YouTubers scamming their fans. But that is what happened to Brittani. She got scammed. So let's get into that. So first, I'm going to go over the timeline of events that we saw play out. Just know that there was a lot more going on in the background that we didn't know about at the time, but just know I will be getting into that a bit later on in the video. So to her audience, it all began in November 2015 when she added a new member to her.
I apologize, I was out of pocket. Also, I kind of predicted it, so she wasn't doing the scamming, she's getting scammed, which maybe the freaking title made me subconsciously remember that. Listen, man, I'm fried, okay?
That we didn't know about at the time, but just know I will be getting into that a bit later on in the video. So to her audience, it all began in November 2015 when she added a new member to her family. And that new member was a dog named Louie.
I was literally going to guess a dog, dude. I would imagine that I was watching her like around this time or a little bit before then.
Introduced
That's so
Louie
long
to us
ago.
by making a video titled Interviewing My Dog. And this dog was introduced to us as a dog that used to be her friend's dog that her friend gave to her. And ever since then, Louie made regular appearances in her videos. But after a few months, we stopped seeing Brittani and Louie all together because she stops posting to YouTube. She stopped posting for an entire month, and the month before that, she only posted twice, when normally she would be uploading weekly. Then when she returned in July 2016, she revealed that the reason why she had to take a break was because she was just so sick because she was pregnant. And this came as a complete shock to the majority of her audience because most of them didn't know she was in a relationship. She did post a Snapchat story after New Year's with her and her boyfriend after they had just gone through the New Year's.
Listen, this is a wake-up call to all you parasocial frogs out there. If she posted once a week and sometimes once a month, yeah, you might not know everything about her. She might be getting pregnant off screen. Shocker, I know, but it's better you hear it from me, because otherwise you might end up like this guy, make a whole video about it. Just kidding. I'm just pretending that that's what this is about, okay? These are jokes, guys.
And she was on a high. But yeah, other than her fans that saw that, the rest of her fans just didn't know. In the same video where she revealed that she was pregnant, she also revealed that she was not only in a relationship,
she was joking,
but she was engaged. She was engaged to a Serbian doctor and professional tennis player named Milos. She talked about how she met him in a cafe. She also clarified that her dog, Louie, wasn't actually her dog, but was actually his dog.
Milos'
his dog was
dog.
actually the reason why they decided to ultimately move
If I had a secret husband named Milos, you guys would know about it, I'd tell you.
together. Oh yeah, she also revealed that they lived together as well. At the time they started dating, Milos lived in San Diego and would have to always leave Louie to go visit Brittani. So Brittani suggested that Louie...
If I lived in San Diego, I would tell you guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to react harder for my haters who say that I don't stop the video long enough. I'm reacting harder. Is this good enough?
Lives with her, and he can see Louie when he comes to see her as well. So not long after Louie moved in with her, Milos also moved in, and it appeared as though they had a very happy, healthy relationship. And the
No, they're
content on
sharing
her
a
channel
chair.
Shifted from making
They should have their own.
to vlogs of her living her pregnant life with
They should have their own this
and that
thing
boded
too.
really well for her channel because she was getting hundreds and thousands of more views than she normally would. Her fans really seemed to enjoy watching her go through these big life things,
What up,
like the gender reveal, selling her beloved house in LA, and then moving from LA to San Diego, and like all of the other pregnancy stuff. And then she gives birth to a baby boy named Misha. All the while, fans notice that Milos is losing weight but that was never addressed by Brittani, and they just seemed to continue to live happy lives. But while things may have appeared picture perfect from the outside looking in, behind closed doors, things were very toxic, manipulative, and abusive. One day, she privatized all of her videos that included Milos. Then in the next video, she reveals
it said they were eventually made public again. My bad. I covered
that
it up.
she found something out, but doesn't go into details.
If you are a longtime viewer of mine, you're probably wondering, like, what happened to all your vlogs from the past 6 months? It is very, very, very complicated, and I still need a little bit of time to digest everything that I've found out in the past few weeks. So I will explain everything soon, but
Why is there a chandelier on a tripod? I'm so confused.
I'm just not ready yet to let everyone know.
And then in the video after that, she's calling their son Rex instead of Misha.
I've been calling him Rex lately because he sounds like a little T-Rex when he screams. Rex, peekaboo.
So there were a lot of questions around what happened to the two of them. And all of these questions went unanswered for an entire year and a half. Because it wasn't until December 2017 that Brittani released a book titled A Sucky Love Story, which detailed what happened in their relationship. And I read that book, so that's what I'm going to go over in the next part of this video. And just so you know, she explained in a YouTube video that the only way she was going to be able to tell her story was in a book that was published by a publisher. That way, if Milos didn't like what she said about him in the book and he decided to sue, then he would have to sue the publisher, which would be a lot more difficult than suing her personally. So yeah, now I'm going to...
Is that how that works? Can't you talk about your own experience in a relationship? I guess I don't really know the ins and outs of what happened, so I'll just freaking shut the hell up and watch, but I am reacting hard.
A recap of what she said in the book. I am going to be leaving out quite a bit, so it definitely will still be worth reading the book if you wanted to do so. So basically at the start of the book, she reveals that her and Milos met on Tinder. She talks about that she actually said that they had met in a cafe because he wanted her to say they met in a cafe, but they actually met on Tinder. And the pictures on his dating profile were all like professionally taken headshot type of photos, which Brittani thought
that's crazy.
Which Brittani thought was a little bit weird, but she still thought he was pretty hot. So she swiped right, and as it turned out, he had also swiped right because as soon as she did, they matched. They talk on and off for a little while, and then he kind of ghosts her before he eventually starts talking to her again and asks her to go on a date, which she is pretty hesitant
Typical tennis player
behavior. She does
behavior.
ultimately decide to go on this date, but not with the intention of continuing it further, but with the intention of just wasting his time because of him ghosting her. She wanted to get back at him for doing that. And then the date happens, and pretty soon into the date, he starts bragging about how rich he is. He said he owns a $900,000 yacht, a high-end flat in Russia that he acquired during his brief stint in the oil.
I prefer when people put that in the bio, to be honest. Like, just put that up front. If you own a $9 million yacht, I would like to know.
Industry,
also,
a
your height.
Tuscan-style property in Montenegro, a property in Croatia, an extensive watch collection where nothing was worth less than $25,000, an expensive black Audi, and a closet full of Tom Ford suits that he left in Serbia but never wore. And this turned Brittani completely off of him because she was more interested in his heart than his bank account. And she was actually the one who put an end to the date. But acting like a gentleman, he walked her to her car and he asked her on another date. And she was taken aback because of how bold he was being, like she just didn't think people actually did that. So she agreed to another date. And it wasn't until the next few dates that he started to become more genuine and they actually started to bond. But even though things significantly improved from the first date, things were far from perfect and he was giving her mixed signals. So she actually broke up with him. But he didn't give up on her and he won her back by telling her that he had a plane ticket booked to go back to Serbia, but when he met her, he cancelled it because he fell in love with her on their first date.
That's normal, as one does.
Did you know that I had a plane ticket home when I first met you? He said, quiet, tentative. News to me. No, I didn't.
So do they have to sue the podcast's platform for this part of the lawsuit? I don't know how this works, dude.
The moment you walked up to the coffee shop,
I think it's okay to talk about
I loved you from the
if you got married to some scammer and then you wanted to say that.
But
I don't know. I've never done it.
Wow, his English was improving and great. Now I wanted to cry.
He might want to sue you for that impression of him because you're kind of doing him dirty right now.
That was by far the most romantic thing anyone had ever said to me.
He also said that his family were giving him $35,000 a month to live in America, but because he decided to stay for Brittany, they cut him off.
My family has been sending me $35,000 a month while I've been here, but that is done now. I choose you, so they are cutting me.
Listen, buddy. I know you're trying to be all romantic and shit, but I am not worth 35 grand a month. You are making a poor financial decision, and I can't allow that. Please forward the money to me if you don't want it. I will break up with you now.
Off. This is where I could step in and help.
And Brittany feels bad that the reason why his family cut him off was because of her, and she decides to fully support him.
He does not have a family. Ain't no way.
I'm so sorry.
Rich
but we will
people
get
are
through
alone.
this. Your family
That's why
will
they
come
grind
around,
hard.
but in the meantime, I can help you. The rest of the night was spent consoling and brainstorming. It was an awful feeling, even though it was out of my control, that I might have possibly caused a divide between Milos and his family.
But he had to at least try and make some money and started giving tennis lessons. But despite making a little bit of money from that, his bank account dwindled to $2,500. And because he couldn't keep making the repayments on an expensive car that he had to downsize and settle for an older BMW
Oh
X5.
my god, the fucking audacity! Bro, I would just end it all if I had to. Wait, actually, that car is way better than anything I own, actually. I would take that. Fine. I wouldn't even complain. This guy's an asshole.
But because he didn't have much money or credit, Brittany decided to do him a solid and get a car loan out in her name. So the $400 monthly repayment
Hell yeah.
for that car would come out of her bank account. So yeah, they were becoming a pretty committed
Wait, was she
couple.
on like international Tinder? How did that? I missed that part. What is it? Isn't Tinder usually local people? This was local handsome man just visiting from Serbia. I don't think I'm willing to go back and figure that out. I'll probably notice it while editing, and I'll write yes or no on the screen.
But not long after that, a spanner was thrown in the works. He revealed to Brittany that he paid someone $100,000 to marry him so that he could get a green card to stay in the US. And the reason he tells Brittany this is because somebody who also fell in love with Milos was blackmailing him. The other woman who, according to him, had an unrequited love for him, found out about Brittany and wasn't happy. She also knew that he had married somebody for a green card and was blackmailing him with that information. So he was being completely transparent with Brittany.
You are being blackmailed by an ex. You're still involved with your ex? I understand that it's a little more complicated than that, but not to me. So I feel like there's a lot of reasons to let this relationship slide. BLT, you should have dodged a bullet with this one. Let's continue.
That's what was happening. And by that point, he had introduced Brittany to some of his friends. So when Brittany questions, like what's going to happen with this woman who's blackmailing you, he tells her that one of his friends has connections to the Serbian mafia and will take care of it. Brittany.
Now I think he is lying. I do not think that is also the case. I do not think that all three of these things are true in succession. And I think I would have to hang up the phone now.
Questions if they're going to kill the woman, and he says no, they're just going to send a few people to talk to her. And then Brittany checks her email, where she received 2 emails from this other woman. This woman tells Brittany that she went on dates with Milos and sends her screenshots of their Tinder and text messages. And she also sent Brittany pictures of Milos and her together. And Milos pointed out how in all of their pictures together, he apparently looked uncomfortable. He also said that she used an app to make up some of the conversations and pointed out how some of the words that were used in the conversations weren't words that he would use. He said that this was one big plan between this woman and his friend to try and get his inheritance. And Brittany believed him.
Barely blinking, I wanted to pick out all the discrepancies. I wanted to see the story she had crafted in her head. Maybe if I looked at them long enough, it would dull the annoying pain that kept washing over me in waves. Again, it felt like I had been cheated on when I hadn't. Ugh. This woman was obviously insane. She had created a fake relationship. She had decided that she wanted Milos. She was just another Beverly Hills husband hunter trying to get hitched and rich. When he rejected her, she decided that she was going to make him pay.
Before Brittany could question it much more, he suggested they get engaged. And so they did. But he wasn't able to buy her a ring at the time because she was still supporting him. And not long after they got engaged, she was traveling for work, and she realized that she enjoyed being away from him. He was adding a lot of stress to her life, of course, for being financially dependent on her and having his ex-lovers pop up in her life. And by that point, they had been getting in a lot of fights because he kept holding the fact that he stayed in America for her over her head. So she decided that when she returned from her work trip, that they would go on a break. But before she could go on a break, she found out she was pregnant. And when she found this out, she was hysterical. She was not ready to have a child. And what made things worse was the fact that she had constantly been asking him if they should have been using protection. But he told her, as a doctor, that all he had to do was pull out. And when he found out she was pregnant...
As a doctor? What? You can say that? This changes absolutely nothing, but that's just interesting to me. What a fucking weird situation.
And he said that having a child was a good thing. And she did consider aborting the baby. She didn't like that she was going to be tied to Milos for the rest of her life, and that everything was going to change for her now. She even made an appointment for an abortion, but when the time came, she couldn't go through with it. After she found out she was pregnant, there was more tension in their relationship than there had ever been. She became depressed and had really bad pregnancy sickness, and because of that, she wasn't able to make her YouTube videos, and because of that, she wasn't able to make money, which caused the bills to pile up. Oh, and through all of this time, he was still studying to be a doctor in the US, so she was still supporting him. But at the same time, he would also be constantly picking
Bro, how
fights
rich
with
are
her
you?
and still holding the fact that he stayed in America for her over her head. And then one day, Brittani just can't stand it anymore, so she grabs a garbage bag and starts filling it with his stuff. He doesn't like this, and then things escalate to a physical altercation. There was a pretty bad tussle where she thinks that he's going to kill her. In the commotion, she pushes his face away, and that is when he acts as though she's done some serious damage to his eye. And that really disarms her. As he's sulking about his eye, she no longer fears for her life and feels bad for him. And then he rushes off to the hospital. Then for a while, things settle between the two of them, and they start looking at multi-million-dollar mansions for them to live in. Milos had obviously faked some paperwork that said he was going to have tens of millions of euros.
Guys, there's nothing romantic about putting up with any of this shit. Just listen to the red flags. Red flags are your friend. That's what tells you where the bad stuff is, okay? Just remember that.
Shortly, and he used that fake paperwork to get inspections at million-dollar mansions. And keep in mind, Brittani was still paying for literally everything at that point. And because they're going to be moving into a mansion, Milos suggests that she sells her house. She puts her house on the market, and within a week, it sells. And then he reveals that his business partner took off with his money, and now he can't buy them a house. And that really sucked for Brittani, because while she could have backed out of selling her house...
What's the expression? Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. Fool me 5 times, shame on me, Losh.
At that point, she was in $30,000 of debt, because she was supporting him, and she was not working because she had such bad pregnancy sickness. So she went through with the sale of her house, and any money that she made from it went straight towards the rent on an apartment in San Diego. And the reason why they moved there was because Milos said there were better opportunities for him to become a doctor there. And then not long after living in San Diego, Brittani gives birth to a boy named Misha. And then Milos's supposed mother flies in from Serbia to help look after the baby. She stays in the same apartment with them, and from the very beginning, she's very enforceful about what Brittani should be doing to look after her child. And then Brittani snaps on her one day and tells her to leave. And so she does, and Milos follows her. And then after spending some time apart, Milos tells Brittani that he has cancer. Because she lost her dad to cancer, this was a very sensitive thing for her.
I just don't even believe him at this point. How do you? What I gathered from this story is that Brittani Louise Taylor is the greatest sugar mama to ever live.
So she forgives Milos for anything that he's ever done.
As
After that,
one
he
does.
wants to take copies of her birth certificate and passport and get their son's social security number so that when he dies, all of his assets and money will go to them. She does oblige to this, and she gives him all of the information he needs and lets him take the copies. And then she finds out that he is most likely lying about having cancer. She Googles the medicine that he is being administered and finds out that it is given to him through an IV. And she remembers that when she was pregnant and she had an IV put into her, she had a bruise afterward, but she could not find any marks or bruises anywhere on Milos. She then tells her mum this, and they come up with a plan for her to escape. Brittani ties up some loose ends in San Diego, and then she tells him that she has to do a job in Los Angeles. But she also wants to bring their son to this job. He is very begrudging about this and does not want her to take Misha. But she holds the fact that she needs to work to support him over his head, so he lets her go. And then while he's out of the house, she packs up a bunch of her things and leaves. And then she makes a police report because she's fearful of him taking their son to Serbia. She found out that you only needed one parent's consent to become a Serbian citizen, and since she had already given him Misha's social security number, she feared that that's what he was doing. And by that point, she actually believed that he may have wanted to take their son to Serbia to sell. She had noticed that Milos wasn't really ever bonding with their son, and thought that that may have been because he only saw their son as a commodity. And she also remembered a time when his mother commented on the fact that Misha didn't have any birthmarks, meaning that if he did go missing, he couldn't be identified using a birthmark or anything, and she was growing suspicious if his supposed mother was even his mother. They slept in the same bed sometimes, and obviously when Brittany kicked his mother out, he went with her, so she was questioning what his supposed mother could have actually been to him. But the dots seemed to be connecting, that Milos and his supposed mother may have been trying to get Misha to Serbia to traffic him. She had also told the police that he was faking cancer, but seemed to still be showing signs that he was actually sick with something, like he was losing weight and having cold sweats, and the officer told him that he was likely taking cocaine to bring on those things. And then she remembered a time when Milos told her that doctors took cocaine to stay awake for such long hours. So yeah, things were beginning to make a lot more sense to her. And then after she told the police everything, she was granted a temporary restraining order. And then they go to court and they find out that Milos is going to be in the army, and Milos's lawyer is pretty unprofessional. He gives Brittany's lawyer a USB with a recording of Brittany on it, and in that recording Brittany is crying, and this was a moment Milos recorded without her knowledge.
The moment it started playing, I heard the running water of the shower.
Bro, this is like a fucking horror movie. What the hell is going on?
Low-life asshole had recorded me while I was heartbroken, naked, showering, 9 days after giving birth, and only 4 days after kicking Zora and him out. That was why he was smiling, goading me on because this was his insurance policy. He had a card to play if I ever stepped out of line. Milos and his lawyer, who happened to be a criminal lawyer, odd because this was a family matter. Either way, they were trying to blackmail me. Milos let himself in that night. He pushed my buttons and mocked my grief on purpose. The hardest parts to listen to were myself saying, I want to die. I didn't mean that I actually wanted to die. I meant that I
mean, I don't really know how this affects, given the circumstances. Usually this is like to like make someone look bad or something. It's like an abuse tactic where you get them to like, you get them way past their like breaking point and then record them and don't show how you got them there, right? And it makes them look fucking crazy. But who gives a shit if she's crazy? You've done a bunch of crazy shit and tried to like steal her son. I don't see how this recording is even that how does this change anything?
And his awful mother, his control and manipulation of me. Granted, the whole part about wanting to die might not look the best, but I still think we have a strong case.
But they don't really respond to this lawyer's blackmail. The footage can't legally be
What up, Matthew? Appreciate you, dog.
Released or used in court anyways, because Brittany would have to consent to it being released. And Brittany and her lawyer found a review online of Milos's lawyer and found out that this lawyer used unique tactics to extend a trial so long to the point where it just ended up getting thrown out. And they suspect that is what Milos's lawyer is going to try and do with this case as well, to the point where it will get to the point where Milos has to serve in the military, and then the case will just be thrown out because Milos can't attend. But Brittany's lawyer doesn't let him...
Is that how that works? Do you get to serve in the military the older you get? I don't know. I have no idea.
These dirty tactics. And then Brittany prevails and is awarded a 2-year restraining order from Milos. She is then instructed not to leave the country and not to get Misha a passport. And Misha's name is also changed from Misha to Rex.
All in all, Milos took me for well over $100,000. He took my first home, he took my career, he took away my friends, and he tarnished my self-esteem.
So yeah, that's pretty much a recap of the book. But like I said earlier, I left a lot out. There was a lot that I left out, but probably the most interesting thing that I left out was all of the women that he has done this to before. So yeah, that's basically it for the book. And just a reminder, the link to it will be in the description box. So
how do you have time to live this many lives in one lifetime? Jesus Christ. You think you know a guy.
Her book. She went on news shows and podcasts to promote her book and try and get her story out there. But it didn't really make all that much noise in the YouTube community. And then there was a popular suggestion that a long-time friend of hers, Shane Dawson, make a video on her situation. At the time, Shane was known for making these really extensive, hard-hitting docuseries on things. So
yeah, dude, like the Jake Paul 5-part series where he follows Jake Paul around his house.
people saw this as a good way to get her story out there, and so Shane did end up making a video about her. In a video titled Investigating Conspiracies with Shane Dawson, he met up with Brittani and talked about her story. One of the first things they discussed in the video was whether or not Shane should show Milosh's face in his video, and Brittani advises him not to, and so Shane decides to blur his face. And then they pretty much talk about what she endured during their relationship, and then towards the end of the video, Shane talks about something that Brittani didn't really cover in her book, and that was the question, why would he do this to a public figure?
Hey man, if you were gonna do this, why did you pick a YouTuber? Like, he's lucky he didn't date Trish. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that video would have been posted that night.
And Shane kind of suggests that maybe he wanted to bring this on himself.
He put himself out there, and, you know, maybe in some sick way he wants this. Maybe he likes the idea of fame.
But then at the end of the video, despite being warned not to show Milosh's identity, he decides to do it anyways. And something that I kind of want to tie into that is that in the book, the judge actually concludes that Milosh was likely not a part of the Serbian mafia or had any connection.
Brother, no kidding. I feel like all of it was just a ploy to get free money from a YouTube lady who was just looking for love, dude. That was fucked up. Shout out to Sid Dwyer for this freaking recap of a book that I've never heard of. And shout out Brittani Louise Taylor. I hope she's doing freaking better. That is a crazy story, brother. That's crazy. That's fucked. The story's like a movie after twist for real, dude. Insane. Crazy stuff.